issue.
Come on now, let's not get crazy. The point is, I would agree with you, but the point is this. So now here we sit again, and if you look at the numbers, we have systematically over the last 20 years disinvested now again in higher education. 20-some years ago, a student was paying the brunt of about 40% of the cost of the University of Minnesota's overall expenses. Now they're in the 60s. And that has inversely went down from state, went up to down in terms of what they're investing. And what that does is it's creating less access and opportunity because it's causing the debt of students to go up and the price of education goes up and the state continues to shirk back from its responsibilities.
Is that a disinvestment issue, but is it also an expense issue from the standpoint of higher education?
It's an expense issue as well, and that's what has come again and again is the...
No, it's not. It's not. Is it more expensive? Yes, there's no doubt that it's more expensive, right? But again, I would challenge you on this, is that it literally, the only outcome of higher education makes our state better. The only outcome. Why would we create barriers? We have an opportunity again to turn that around and make bigger investments into our state, especially higher education, which puts more access for more people to be working, and we are simply not doing that. This budget, let me give you an example. This budget they proposed, Min-State, the local community colleges and regular four-year institutions, asked for an amount that was short of what they actually needed, saying, you know what, we're going to absorb $20 million in cuts through our local schools if you give us this amount. And we still cut them down by 60% of their ask. So how can, and listen, 10 years ago, when they were there getting those cuts, we could afford that, and they did trim that. But now there's nothing left to trim. I teach there. I teach every day. I see it. Less janitors, less clean rooms, everything. Technology is less. You continue to cut down at really the backbone of our economy in terms of putting out good workers, which is why we have so many businesses here. So I get passionate about that because we have a responsibility and we're not taking it seriously.
Senator Lane.
Spend more money, he says. And, you know, I can't disagree with anything you said. I really can't on a fundamental basis. And what am I supposed to say now? Where's the checkbook, right? I mean,
but
and
that's a speech. That's not a valid argument in the sense that that's what I hear when I go on the campaign trail and I debate Republicans. And I'm not throwing him in that batch because I actually think he's a very thoughtful Republican and I enjoy working with him. But I hear this argument of, oh, there you go, you want to spend money. You're a tax and spend liberal, right? And the problem is that no, I'm an investment liberal. My goal is to invest in our community, and I think that's my responsibility more than his party does.
And I would agree with that.
No, you don't, because you voted for a tax bill that cut $900 million. Yeah. And if you did agree with it, you'd have voted against that and said, we got to spend that money in education. Serious. That's the bottom line. What in that tax bill is more of a priority than disabled kids, high school kids, or college students?
That is our number one priority. I think I mentioned that we've talked about it. That's the number one thing that we're spending money on in Minnesota.
Is the taxes, the tax cuts.
No, it's the education bill.
No, see, this is where the argument falls apart again, because what they say is look at how much money we're spending as a whole, and what we're saying is because, for reasons that are not your fault and my fault, some genius decided that we're not going to count inflation into our budgeting process, which doesn't make any sense. So when we come in, if we don't at least match inflation, we're not actually increasing our investment. And most of the investments that they say they're increasing don't match inflation, so it's not actually an increase.